Have you ever trusted someone who felt more real than your own family? I did. And that decision nearly destroyed me. What happened next still haunts me.
Time rewinds, and we see the same manor and the same Arthur, but today he stands in his garden wearing a bespoke suit, radiating absolute contentment. Elena is by his side, both holding crystal glasses as they watch the setting sun, their lives perfect in every way except for the child they never had. And though Elena is lost in old memories, feeling the weight of the silence in such a large house, Arthur takes her hand, reassuring her that they are enough for each other. Their manor sits in London's most elite district, where every wall tells a story of their grand success, and Arthur treats his staff like a father would, knowing the personal needs of every individual under his roof, while every evening they sit on the balcony discussing the future with hope. And looking at their lifestyle, it seems as though no harm could ever touch them. Then comes the day a young man enters the manor gates carrying a small toolkit, and Sebastian bows his head with profound respect, asking Arthur for permission to work on the landscaping. His work is so exquisite that Arthur cannot help but be deeply impressed. And Sebastian doesn't just work, he begins to look after Arthur's every minor need, as if he were a long-lost relative. Sebastian helps Elena in the kitchen and listens to their stories with rapt attention. And slowly he carves a place in their hearts, and Arthur begins to call him the son he always wanted. Sebastian has identified their vulnerability, filling the void of their childlessness with calculated politeness.
Sitting with them for dinner, telling stories that they swallow with total belief. Elena buys him new clothes, while Arthur teaches him the secrets of the business world, all while a mask of innocent smiles stays on Sebastian's face, hiding a naked dance of greed that remains invisible to the couple. He takes over every small chore, eventually gaining responsibility over Arthur's bank accounts and legal documents, winning their absolute trust and becoming the unofficial heir to the manor. Arthur feels as though the greatest void in his life has finally been filled. But one night, in the manor's library, Sebastian brings an old file, his face masked with deep concern. "Arthur, these new property tax laws could put our mansion at risk," he says with grave seriousness, and Arthur panics, unwilling to lose the fruit of his life's hard work. Sebastian explains a safety plan where the property must be transferred into a new protective trust, and with their faith in Sebastian absolute, Arthur signs the documents without reading, looking only into Sebastian's reassuring eyes, followed by Elena, who believes they are securing their legacy. Sebastian takes a deep breath as he gathers the papers, his smile beginning to shift into something sinister, while Arthur claps his hand on Sebastian, thanking him for his loyalty. In the dead of night, Sebastian stares at the documents, every signature a mark of his victory. And as the sun rises the next day, the atmosphere of the manor changes instantly. Strange men in black suits enter the house, signaling Arthur to stop, and Sebastian steps forward, his tone no longer soft, but as hard as stone. "This house is mine now, and you two are mere trespassers," he says, staring directly into Arthur's soul. And Arthur feels the ground slip beneath his feet as Sebastian shoves him aside. Elena begins to cry, pleading with Sebastian, but he only laughs. As security guards grab them by the arms, dragging them through the great gates and throwing them out. Arthur beats against the closed gates, but Sebastian stands on the balcony, tossing trash down upon them. And they run to lawyers, visiting every office in the seat. But everywhere, the answer is the same. The law cannot help them. Arthur's entire wealth and property now belong to Sebastian, and they stand alone on the street, with no home, no money, and no relatives to turn to. The London rain begins, forcing them to seek shelter under a bridge, where Arthur's pride is shattered. He holds Elena's hand and weeps. Life under the bridge becomes a living hell, as the filth and the cold cause Elena's health to deteriorate rapidly. Arthur begs for money just to buy Elena medicine, but people refuse to recognize him. And one night, Elena breathes her last in Arthur's arms, her final gaze fixed on his face. Arthur does not scream. His pain has transformed into a silent, cold poison. And after burying Elena in a shallow, unmarked grave, he transforms into a predator. He starts his move. He leaks evidence of Sebastian's lawyer's past crimes to a rival firm, watching from the shadows as the corrupt lawyer who forged his eviction is hauled away in handcuffs during a live press conference. This is the first crack in Sebastian's armor, and Arthur smiles. Before moving to the second strike, he anonymously sabotages Sebastian's main supply chain, causing a massive delay in his latest luxury development. Sebastian loses millions in a single afternoon, and Arthur watches him scream at his staff through a telephonic lens from across the street. The third win is public. Arthur leaks Sebastian's private recordings to a high society gala. And as Sebastian walks onto the stage to receive an award, his own voice plays over the speakers, mocking the elites he's trying to impress. Sebastian is laughed out of the room, his reputation in tatters, and Arthur, under the name Mr. Sterling, finally reaches out to offer him a lifeline. Sebastian, desperate and losing control, suspects a trap. He hires a private investigator to track Mr. Sterling. Arthur narrowly escapes an ambush in a dark alleyway, his old heart racing as he hides behind a stack of crates. But Sebastian manages to freeze Arthur's secret Sterling offshore account, cutting off Arthur's operational funds. Arthur is forced to sell his wife's only remaining locket to stay in the game, a devastating emotional blow that fuels his fire. Sebastian, feeling he has the upper hand again, launches a counter-lawsuit to silence Mr. Sterling forever. And Arthur finds himself cornered in a safe house, with Sebastian's thugs circling the block. It looks like Arthur will fail, as the bank notifies him that his Sterling identity is being flagged for fraud. Arthur has only minutes to execute the final transfer. His hands shake as he types the bypass code he learned from his old banking days. A heavy boot kicks the door of the safe house open, and Arthur dives through a back window just as Sebastian's men storm the room. He is bleeding and exhausted, huddled in a public phone booth, realizing that if Sebastian doesn't sign the Ghost Project collateral papers in the next hour, all is lost. He makes one final desperate call, posing as a panicked banker, to trick Sebastian into an emergency signing at a secure location. Sebastian arrives, paranoid and armed, looking for Mr. Sterling. And Arthur watches from a hidden vent, his breath hitched as Sebastian hovers his pen over the final contract. Sebastian hesitates, sensing something is wrong, and he almost walks away, but his ego won't let him leave billions on the table. He scrawls his name with a flourish.
Instantly, Arthur hits the Enter key on his laptop, and the legal restoration of his property is triggered globally. The meeting room door bursts open, not with thugs, but with the High Court enforcement officers. Sebastian is pinned against the table, his face turning pale as he realizes the Ghost Project was just a mirror for his own crimes. Arthur walks in, no longer hiding, his suit dusty and his face bruised, but his eyes burning with triumph. "The difference between us, Sebastian, is that I built this world and you only tried to squat in it," Arthur whispers. Guards drag Sebastian out of the manor, his expensive shoes scuffing the marble he once stole. Arthur sits in his old library, but he doesn't pour a drink. He simply looks at the empty chair where Elena used to sit. He goes to the safe and pulls out the files Sebastian used to rob him, burning them in the fireplace one by one.
Every document turned to ash is a weight off his soul, taking the darkness of the past with it. Within hours, news choppers circled the manor, reporting the largest financial reclamation in London's history. Sebastian's mugshot is plastered across every digital billboard in Piccadilly Circus, a public symbol of fallen greed. Arthur stands on the balcony of the manor. The London rain is still falling, but it feels cleansing now. He presses Elena's photograph against his chest, realizing that while he has his house back, the home is gone. The manor is silent, but it is the silence of a grave, not a sanctuary. Arthur transfers his entire fortune to a charity trust, ensuring he never has to touch the blood-stained money again. He hands the keys of the manor to a social worker, and he walks out of the gates for the last time, leaving the ghost of his wealth behind. He goes straight to Waterloo Bridge, placing the flowers on Elena's unmarked spot.